It is ridiculous and it is against the laws of nature that we can have somebody sitting pretty who takes home more money than the credible entrepreneur who is doing actual production of goods and services.
We always say it as it is.
It is only in this country that when a thief is arrested, you hear elders from their tribe saying, he is our son and he is our thief.
If you are deviant
Yes.
and I call you leader, probably you are already a leader, but you are leading in the wrong direction.
We want to see the role of the youth
Yeah.
in the security,
Yes.
governance,
Yes.
and development.
The youth that I meet and work with here, you know, we call them the millennials and X's and Y's, this and that. They don't necessarily want to live like their fathers and grandfathers,
Yes.
do business like their fathers and grandfathers. They're more independent, they're better educated, and they're the ones that are making everything move in this region.
We look at the issues, we talk about issues that impact people's lives in Africa.
The African peoples themselves continue to cheer bad leaders, and because they cheer them on, they continue to be misled.
Let me ask you, doctor, would you rather be somebody who does not enjoy so much freedom but you are rich?
Yes.
Or you'd rather be poor who you are actually imprisoned by the poverty itself?
My goal is not to come here and say, I want the majority ownership, I want to own this, I want to own that, I want to do this. My goal is we all make money and we're all happy, and I help build a big business here.
Punchline is for Africa, with Africa, from Africa. Way back in 1998, the late Secretary General of the United Nations by name Kofi Annan thought of an idea, brought an idea of saying the only way to bring world order where crimes committed that are not punishable in local courts, local countries, regional courts could be taken to an international crimes court. The Rome Statute and Rome Treaty of 1998 July was an offspring of already cooked DSGE intelligence system mechanism to keep Africa under check. Up to date, the French government pays 70% of the salaries of the International Criminal Court, from the porter to the judge, to the prosecutor, and the rest of the other people. This was a project of Kofi Annan and the Kofi Annan Foundation, followed by George Soros as an accomplice of Kofi Annan, brought in by Luis Moreno Campo and the entire system of the West, some countries in the West, to keep check on African countries that did not agree with the policies of the French and to their policies of Western culture. The International Criminal Court Chief Prosecutor Luis Moreno Campo agreed in all this that yes, he has been picking money, extra monies, and we followed the story together with my group in France, powerful investigators in France who worked together with me, and we found out that, truly speaking, Luis Moreno Campo, Fernandez Gomedi, the former judge, the president of the International Criminal Court, laundered money, some coming from American banks themselves. This evidence was put in the ICC. In the case of Bashir versus the chief prosecutor, I filed an application which I still have and which I'm going to publicize again so that people can know that I was right. I've been vindicated because the American friends now have found that my credibility is real. that I was right when I stood up to say this court is corrupt. This court laundered us money, $17 million of United States money, laundered through Bahamas, through New York banks, back to Ocampo's personal assistant, by then called Fernandez Gomedi Silvia, who later on rose to the ranks of becoming the president of International Criminal Court. It has taken us time, energy, effort, resources to investigate the corruption scandal that have rocked the International Criminal Court. Why should African countries continue to be in the ICC? Yet even superpowers like America are saying no, we have enough courts to try our own people. Viewers, it has taken Americans over 20 years to listen to our voices when we told Rainberger in Nairobi that this court is a corrupt court.
Today, on the eve of September the 11th, I want to deliver a clear and unambiguous message on behalf of the President of the United States. The United States will use any means necessary to protect our citizens and those of our allies from unjust prosecution by this illegitimate court. We will not cooperate with the ICC. We will provide no assistance to the ICC, and we certainly will not join the ICC. We will let the ICC die on its own. After all, for all intents and purposes, the ICC is already dead to us.
A case of the Kenyan people. These cases in Kenya, the chief prosecutor called Fatou Bensouda put serious statements at the end of the cases, discharge and termination. In legal language, these cases pose a very serious threat in the future. What the people of Kenya can do, and they should do, is today to wrap up the work envelope. Because until this envelope is sealed, thrown in Indian Ocean, the chief prosecutor in the future will come and look for that envelope, use it to incriminate people again. It brings me back to the situation. America is sealing its journey out of the ICC. Why do you wait? Why don't you take this opportunity to seal your journeys out of the ICC? America is quitting, warning that it cannot no longer be a party to such an obnoxious court, a court that has no powers, that talks from this side and vomits from the other side, a court that cuts and pastes evidence, a court that buys witnesses, a court that incites incentives, gives incentives to witnesses of a passport and a relocation, then you tell lies about people. A court that sentences you as per the words there. Why should you leave a country that has a jury that checks on what the judges would do, the excesses of judges, and go to a country, a court that has no jury? Time has come for Africa to think. Do we need this court? Does Africa need this court? Good afternoon, viewers. Welcome to Punchline Africa TV, broadcasting all the way from Nairobi, the Republic of Kenya. Viewers, this afternoon, this is Africa Showdown, a show that brings events on the continent of Africa. We discuss issues, we give solutions, we look at where the conflicts might come from, and dissect all the issues on this table. This week was a great week. With me in the studio right now is none other than the German lady herself, the smiling, ever smiling German lady. Yes, most of you have asked so many questions about the lady. This lady is part and parcel of Punchline Africa TV. And you have asked me so many questions. But first of all, she's here to answer for herself. And she is fully, actually, she has a full package. You have got to go slow because she will give you the full package and the full dose of what you want. She is none other than Miriam Ogutu. Welcome to the show, madam.
Why are you sounding like I'm prescribing some medication?
Yes, there is very serious medication because over the weekend I was fixed with so many things. Oh, that lady, oh, that lady. I went somewhere and they asked me about Miriam. I said, oh my God, she's there. We are not working today. It's Saturday. So Miriam, you have, spiced the Punchline group. Thank you very much. Continue doing so. There are so many people out there who look up to you. But this afternoon, we have several topics lined up, from the sour breakfast to the money.
Hey, you're going too fast. Do we start with Liverpool first? What happened?
Okay, no, I'm coming. I just want to thank all the fans of Liverpool Football Club. I'm a fan for 41 years. I've been a fan for 41 years.
Yes.
I've now surrendered to my son Ephraim, who is actually 34. Son number 4. 34. Ephraim, enjoy. You can take over. The others have taken different teams. The ladies, different teams, because they have gone with their husbands and they have decided what to do. But the only one whom I should command has taken over is Ephraim Matsanga. Thank you very much, my customer Ephraim. Take over from me and cheer up Liverpool. We started cheering Liverpool. You can imagine when Johnny Barnes was the only black player playing football in Britain. It's a great challenge.
And it was a great
He inspired me. And I made the first journey towards Liverpool 41 years ago. I started cheering. I was cheering until I arrived in the United Kingdom. Then the first journey that I made, I was delivering newspapers and parcels. I was working as a delivery guy. It is kazi mingi. Yes. We have done so many jobs. At least for us, we don't tell lies about what we have done in the past.
You started from the bottom.
Yes.
And now you're here.
When you are doing an upright job, that's what Uhuru Kenyatta was saying.
Yes.
Don't glorify the wealth. Tell us how you made the wealth. That's it. Don't worship the wealth. I don't want to go that route because, there are so many things coming that route. Later on, we shall be joined in the last half of the show by none other than our special, programs editor, special mercenary himself.
Mercenary?
Yes, we journalistic mercenary,
okay.
Not a mercenary with guns.
Yes.
Samuel Tawish will be here to gloss over, to tell us more about many things, including the legacy of the president, the trend. That's it. We keep it going. You saw Baba is in London.
Chatham House.
Yes.
Saturday, yes.
I was invited. Didn't I show you? I forgot to show you.
Oh, you had an invite?
Yes, I'm a member of Chatham House. I've been a member of Chatham House for 23 years. I don't want to lie to anybody. I'm a member of the Chatham House. I was invited for that talk. Your Excellency, the former Prime Minister, unfortunately, I cannot share my program, my platform, and listen to Kofi Annan. It is a speech for Kofi Annan, the legacy of Kofi Annan. So I told the director of who sent me the application that they need some voice. I said, no, since the Prime Minister, the former Prime Minister of Kenya is going there, I don't want to look like I am opposing him. I will not go to London. It is tomorrow and the 4th, the legacy of Kofi Annan. Then the man asked me, why are you not coming, David? You a member of this place. We need your contribution. We pick some of your papers and some things that you write. You should come and take a contribution. I said, no, we have taken a handshake. We have taken a handshake. For us who were on Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta's side, or Jubilee side, we shook hands with Mr. Raila. So I wouldn't go to Chatham House tomorrow, put up my hand and deliver a blow to Raila. No. Because on the question of Kofi Annan, I disagree. I don't like to hear the name. May God rest his soul permanently.
Permanently.
Yes.
So you really don't.
We don't want to talk about the dead.
Okay.
Because I have already criticized the people who talk about the dead in Africa.
Okay.
It was very wrong for the deputy president to talk about Jomo Kenyatta. Yes, it was very wrong. Anybody who has read, who has gone to school like me, I didn't feel correct. When you said that when Kenyatta died, we thought the world had come to an end. But there were people who saw the world had come to an end. The family. It was very wrong. Mujue hiyo mambo mnazungumiza jameni. You younger men, what's going on? What's going on, surely? Money is making people talk things for. We give you respect, but don't talk like that. You don't, for example, me, my father was assassinated, killed, beaten up. By somebody. Someone gave him even tea to die. I don't want you to come and tell me about my father. Even if, don't tell me, because I never buried him. I was in exile. I've never buried him. So when you come and start on a joking matter and the same, that you annoy the person indirectly. President Uhuru Kenyatta and the family does not see those jokes in that manner. Let it be sounded. Okay? Yes. They have not seen those jokes in the manner that you made the jokes. They are not happy because they lost. To them, the world came to an end. Have you seen the interpretation? So let Kenyan leadership know what to say. I want to thank Kenyatta yesterday again. You said politics. You are spoiling Kenyatta's legacy. Then you want to enjoy yours in the future. Hakuna hapo, tuko katikati. Hapo mtatuua tukwishe. Lakini we are not going to accept Kenyatta's legacy to go down. Yes. Slowly, you know, you deal with guys technically, slowly, and knock them out. They didn't know that the currency was coming. I was telling them a tsunami. Some of them went on Facebook to ask me, where is the tsunami, Matanga? You lie. That's the first stroke. Don't joke with strategists. Nyenye wanacheza na strategists. Mama, today we have plenty. I can see Abdul Hassamayad Ali from Mogadishu. Hi Somalia, Ungrateful to neighbors. Indeed, it is very I am coming for you. Prepare your notes, Mr. Abdul Salam from Mogadishu. You are very ungrateful. Mnatupiga mateke. We have pacified your country. We've lost people in your country. Our troops, brothers are dying. But you are now beginning to pacify us that cheap nationalism should stop. And you and I, you know very well we have not been on the good books when it comes to Somali nationalism. That is what you did to Ethiopians. They left. Then Al-Shabaab came. This time, you will not threaten us. We either pacify it, or we also pacify everybody. Yes, we are going to stick there.
Is that a threat?
Yes, we are not leaving until Somalia is pacified. These threats are, I want the people here, I want the people that once the French left South Sudan, they came here, they want oil. Then, immediately, they entered Mogadishu. I said, that is the end. Didn't I say it, Miriam, here? I said, that's the end of Somalia. The Somali leadership is going to change. They now started funding Somalia to go to court. Those lawyers that Somalia was paying for the case. Somalia is a country without a central bank. How can he pay dollars? Hakuna.
Yes, and we have some revelation on the recent tiff between Kenya and Somalia. So Abdi Samad,
Ali says,
I hope you'll stick around for that.
Stick there. We are coming. But here in Kenya,
yes.
Watch out, Soma.
All right, so
the list is long.
We'll be looking at the Sour Prayer breakfast that happened last week, and the DCJ court ruling while we were leaving here on Friday. The proceedings were still happening at the Milimani Law Courts, and so we'll let you know the latest on the Deputy Chief Justice's case and the Madaraka, the celebrations, of course, that happened yesterday, and Miracle New Notes of Kenya. Right now, we have new notes that have been introduced yesterday by the central bank governor. And we have until October 1st.
Yeah.
There are 1,000 notes. After October 1st, you cannot use the 1,000
yes.
note.
Those who have bankers in their houses, empty them and go to the bank and tell them how you kept it. That's all they want. If it is not there, fine. If it is there, don't hesitate. The best you can do is ban it. Because Uganda government also has done the same. Next week, I think this week is announcing in its budget some measures from the Central Bank of Uganda, restrictions of how much money can be taken out
of the bank.
Yes.
I think it's important.
East African community, we must work together. Wengine wanasema they will live here and then go to Tanzania, then rotate. Hakuna. Tanzania does not allow money laundering. No country wants money laundering. But so many good things happened for me this week.
Yes.
The United States ambassador list. Oh, have you seen the list? Very interesting. Hey, wow. It rains. The list by the United States of America. 100 people in Kenya, the most corrupt. Do you know your number?
Who tops it?
Yes. Do you know your number? Ask Matanga, I'll tell you.
Who tops it?
No, don't worry.
Number 1 to 5.
I'll tell you on 1 to 5. Miriam, let's do it in people's court tomorrow.
Okay.
1 to 5. Whoa. Now, you see what the point here is this. When America strikes, the EU will strike. So you will go nowhere. You are finished. You are finished, Jamen.
Even your children will not.
You are finished. You eat food here like a Mugabe. Whoa. I told you, Matsanga always talks to you and you don't listen to him. You say, oh, that Ugandan, that foreigner, that what. Now you see. Look at that list. It is a... Why? If you want to test your waters, go and apply for the visa. Apply for the visa. Yes, if you have doubts, apply for the visa. That you want to go and talk to people in Michigan. Yeah, and you know this week was so nice. Miriam, smile. You can smile. I can see why you are smiling.
No, you're so excited.
I'm happy.
Yes, I can see that.
Liverpool won. A list came out.
Can we appreciate the vocal ring?
God. I've written God. God. I started praying. Didn't you notice last week that something was changing in me? Whenever I look at you, I fainted.
No, on Friday you're very angry.
Yes, but whenever I look,
today you feel much better.
The spirit came down. Came down. From Monday I was praying.
Okay.
That, oh God, give Liverpool a chance. If Liverpool wins,
the last time it was
I'll also win the war. I'll help the president to win the war on corruption. Upright prayer. But if you are praying that give me money and I get power, hey!
Upright prayer.
Upright prayer. Okay. Upright prayer. Okay. Not wicked prayer. If you are going to pray every day that God help me to kill that matanga, Mungu hawezi. Mungu hawezi. In fact, anaweza jaribu kurudisha kwako. So upright prayer. Today is Sunday. The sour prayer breakfast. Let's talk about it.
That happened on Friday.
It was very sour. Was it Friday or Saturday?
Is it Thursday or Friday? I think Friday. No, Thursday. But it happened on Thursday. The 17th annual prayer breakfast that normally happens in Kenya happened on Thursday. And this was the 17th year that the prayer has
it was sour.
And critics were wondering, especially the U.S. ambassador to Kenya and the tweet that he sent, Kenyan leadership meeting to pray away, corruption.
You know, there are some jokes that you can joke about. But there are some jokes you don't take to a prayer breakfast. Some jokes can remain on a political rally. That meeting was the MPs next time should restrict themselves and tell us what type of prayer they want for the nation. They have gone not for politics. I thank President Uhuru Kenyatta for completely disassociating and saying only about 150 words.
You counted the words.
Yes. I am his keen follower.
You really are into this.
I love the guy. I like the president. I love his work. I'm a keen follower. Every word he says, if he has said something wrong, I will again follow it up. He said was not. I told you when the president was reading the state of the nation, I said he's starting to laugh. He's not going to read the names. He has got very good heart. He said, some people want me to sack these guys. Then he said, then I knew he was not going to read there. We are done. Yes, I know. That is my subject. I studied morphology.
But naturally,
I can even tell from there, and I said that Miriam now doesn't like me.
Okay.
Her eyes today are very sharp and piercing.
Okay.
Yes, I ran off so that now in the office I know how to handle you.
You keep off.
Yes.
Very good.
So I saw the president was not happy. He only said, I wish all of you, the words that, too many of these words you say, you could put them in practice.
Yes, transform them into service to Kenya.
Yes. I remember over 60 years ago, in the village down in the mountains of Elgon, where I was born, I used to walk on foot to go to school 5 miles and come back. I remembered the village jigger. The jiggers pierced me.
Okay.
Yes. I remember my mom taking the jiggers out of me.
With a needle?
Yes, it's not a confession. It's now a story.
Okay.
That's not a confession. I did. When independence came to Uganda, I was born. My father took me there to see the flag go down. I remember the fire lit the whole night up to morning, from midnight. I remember very well. I remember the 1966 crisis when the army, you know, our place, our district is a district for rebels. They all ran through the forest of Mount Elgon. I remember Brigadier Opolot and others running through there, running away from Kampala after being defeated by Idi Amin all the way. Museveni also used my own village, passing through to Mount Elgon. I remember my own cousin brother, Watiekere, is dead. Very bright guy, lieutenant, assassinated. My own cousin brother, Matsanga, died in the Captain Lieutenant Matsanga in 1978. People are perished. Several people, they are perished. So I know what it is. But when the president says, please stop politics, stop it. Uhuru is not annoyed with anybody. He has not told you he's not going to support you. We need a candid talk. Don't pay people to demonize his name. The younger men who are demonizing President Uhuru's name on social media, have you seen the type of thing they write? We are countering, we shall counter you. There are people also who love Uhuru. So if you start that way, we shall now also come out to help to love the president. Pan-African guy. When he talks, Africa listens. Wachana watu. Thank you very much. We have hit several topics there.
At the same time, yes.
Madaraka Day celebrations, fantastic in Narok.
Yes.
The bridge was left there, but the army bridge was left for people of Narok. The army has pledged to build the bridge and take away their mobile bridge. Thank you very much, Chief of Defense Forces and the President, Commander-in-Chief.
And while still on Madaraka Day celebrations, and of course the one that the president was present really went on very well, but the one that was in Nairobi, I don't know what you make of that, between Governor Mike Sonko and Nairobi Women's Representative Esther Passaris. What do you make of that level of disrespect?
It's a wrong chemistry.
What does chemistry has to do with it?
If you also dress very badly and you show your knickers.
She was very respectful.
No, listen. You show your knickers to the public. You are seated with a see-through dress. Watu watakupatia respect namna gani?
She did not have
Miriam, let's talk the truth.
I saw her. Can you please bring the photos of Passaris' dress yesterday?
No, I'm not saying there.
A nice dress.
Before, what credibility does she carry? What credibility?
Does that...
You can't wear see-through clothes for us to see your... there was a picture of South African deputy president.
That is the South African...
No, listen, with the wife. Wife wearing a white panty. Being seen through.
What does that have to do with Passaris?
How many times has Passaris shown us her see-through dress?
No, she's always respectful.
Bring it on. Production team, look for the pictures. Look for the pictures.
She's one of the few women I know that...
Yes, Sonko is doing a good job.
...carry themselves with decorum in this country. And
Sonko is defending...
As a woman in this country, I was disappointed.
Sonko is defending...
And I cannot defend
the legacy.
Of what?
Why did she start by pointing? Sonko only said... that I am not your husband to call you every night.
That is not how you talk as a leader.
Now there you can now defeat me. But on the other side of Passaris,
yes.
Mama,
yes,
nguo hizo za Passaris ziko very deadly.
She's pretty.
So
mind yourself.
You want us to jump on her because she's pretty?
She's pretty, and if you can't handle it, just mind yourself.
Some of us can't handle it. It is like a women.
I think it was very personal and uncalled for.
It's not personal.
And as a woman in this country, I was disappointed.
Yes, as a man also in this country, we are disappointed.
for a leader to wear a see-through cloth.
She did not wear.
Some of us are very.
And I don't care what she wore. That does not mean you can go on disrespecting people. Or,
yes.
Or people in that
there, Miriam, I agree.
Has nothing to do.
I agree with you, but on also the respect is earned, not forced. Mama also has been doing lots of things. You saw the exchange with Miguna.
She did not even exchange.
It was worse.
Miguna.
No.
How, don't even do that.
She was worse.
Miguna attacked Pasaris. I don't think she did anything to
I was on the
that.
show. I was coming next.
Oh yes.
You remember I refused.
And that
because
got
I respect.
fired.
Listen, I respect Pasaris.
Yes.
Pasaris is my friend. But also her decorum, the way she moves around.
She carries herself with a lot of respect.
She dresses around.
She carries
there
herself
is a time she dressed a see-through dress. Unaonesha nini?
I can't even stop.
Watu wako na njaa. People are angry.
We cannot trivialize such very important matters.
I am not trivializing.
Yes.
I agree.
That was uncalled for.
Sonko has got a vulgar language.
And when Jeff Koinange allowed that to happen, even if I was at the helm of KTN, I would have fired him. And he was fired because of that. Because it was unnecessary.
Yes, he was.
Yes.
Koinange has become very petty anyway. So don't talk about Koinange. Koinange is a man who cannot even build one microphone of his own. So leave it.
Okay, the power-hungry maniacs.
Yeah. Koinange can't have a mic. Does he have a microphone of his own? He uses hired equipment.
But he works for those television stations.
Yes.
They have their stuff.
I cannot come back in Africa and go and work for Citizen. No.
So
struggle with it.
So
no.
You're discrediting the African
I am saying
media.
Sorry.
Yes, from CNN.
I cannot go and compete for employment. Mtipatie miaka yangu imeenda. I am about 64.
Miaka yake bado ijaenda.
Yeah, basa afanye hiyo. How do you come from high place then come to compete? Come and set something like this. Yes, I've set a television station. Are people not here?
But
are people not talking? Are people not listening?
It's a legitimate job.
Look at the people listening to us.
I don't mind as long as
employ people. Don't fight for salary. I hate people who fight for salary every day.
He's paid very well.
Yes, let him be paid.
Yes.
But not David Matanga. This giant, no, don't pay me.
He's paid very well.
I'll always put, even in London, I put a nightclub which trained Wachikoya. Professor Wachikoya was my bouncer. And I told him, let's go to school.
Yes.
He went to school. He's a professor. I'm not a professor. Yes. But he earned my salary. I paid him salary in London. Club 791 on London Road. That is Dr. David Nyakurat Matsanga.
Yes.
Google it and you'll see it. I have always been an entrepreneur. I've always not worked I've worked for others. And that's why God has helped me to live like this. But you can't come and compete with jobs here, small boys. You run with them in a green room. Hapana. Walai hapana. Get something. Koinange should have a television station now of his own.
Maybe he doesn't have interest in having a television
station. Then why does he go there to spread propaganda?
He spreads
No.
Or is it because of his recent trip to Canada?
I don't care about Canada. What can he do?
Okay.
Canada or New York or whatever. Canada, we reached there before he reached there.
Yeah.
I was in Canada before. Nasema nini? What the hell? I was in Canada. I've been there. Ontario. Montreal. President Uhuru Kenyatta is going to Montreal next year.
Montreal. It is French. The other side,
French.
Yes, the other side is French.
It's Quebec.
Yeah, Quebec.
The capital city of Quebec.
And Montreal.
Yes. Talk to me. This is a living dictionary.
Montreal.
Yes. I've been told by the speaking English woman who is also a German and trying to speak English now. Okay, thank you. Montreal.
So let's talk about the power hungry. I don't want to say that word.
Power hungry? Maniacs.
Yes.
Yes. Salva Kiir said it. It's not me. Salva Kiir in the power sour breakfast said they are power hungry maniacs.
In the sour power breakfast. Okay.
Power hungry maniacs. They sing power, 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 power. They break. Salva Kiir was saying, not Matanga. If I am just the week that was.
The week that works, yes, indeed.
Thank you very much, listeners, wherever you are. That's Kenya for you.
We've not done the DCJ ruling. Are we just
starting from tomorrow?
Yes.
I will be concentrating on the beautiful judge who won all this judiciary through her beauty. Yes, I have no problem with a beautiful
That is
person.
sexist. That is sexist. That is sexist.
But I am also handsome. There are people who say I'm handsome.
When they say that is sexist, it's biased towards the other sex.
The DCJ ruling. Let's talk nicely.
Yes.
Yes.
Legalese. I know you know that.
If I were the DCJ, I would just collect some little money now and tell the president that, Your Excellency, I have diligently served. This is the English. This is the English. I have diligently served my country. I have been a lawyer for several years. I have risen to the rank of a Deputy Chief Justice. I want to take this opportunity to thank the people of Kenya, to thank the public of Kenya, that the allegations that were labeled allegedly against me have injured my character, and therefore, to safeguard the integrity of the Supreme Court and the entire judiciary, I've tendered my resignation, and I'm going back to Makueni, or I'll be going to Busia, where my husband, or whatever it is, or whatever. That's it. Full stop. Because what is coming for the DCJ is bad. You don't want to be tackled that way. Walai. You know you Kenyans fear this truth. Me, I didn't fear Ocampo war. I did not fear Ocampo. You feared Ocampo. You wanted to close your offices. Even Kibaki wanted to close his office to see Ocampo war. This is a wrong, rubbish guy. I did not fear him. He had already antagonized me in Uganda. He had already taken my Ugandan northerners, Luo people, because they are Luo. Because they are Luo. A Mzungu from Argentina to go and take laws, to come to our politics and take laws, and leave Bantu who killed also equally. No. If I were the DCJ, I would just go. Tender my resignation to the president who appointed me, and save myself the inquiry that is coming.
So an inquiry is inevitable.
It will bring so many things. It will show how beauty turns into a seduction. I've not said body.
I'm listening. Continue.
Yeah, beauty can. Yeah, you have seen people when you go to do interview and you are very ugly, you lose. But when you are handsome like Matanga, those days when I used to be handsome with dimples here, now I don't know where this fat came from.
How comes the dimples have disappeared?
They have disappeared because the fat has come. That's why people insult me in Kenya every day.
Is it the fat or the coke that you love so much?
It's not coke. I don't even take it.
We'll take you for rehabilitation. You love coke so much.
Thank you very much. If I were the DCJ.
If you know a coke rehab.
Somewhere. Oh no, she's gone there again. If I become slender like Mama here, she will not like me again. In Uganda, if you become so slender, they will think you have some problem. So keep me. Do you like slender people again.
Hey, I'm not liking anything. I'm self-sufficient.
I am like this.
You're off the
I'm
shelf.
like, Mama, if you didn't know, I am like the way I am.
Yes.
Hey,
I know.
if I go smaller like this, I will have a problem.
It's just the coke addiction.
No, I don't have it. You see me.
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola. Oh my God, she comes again. Don't listen to her. Thank you very much, Miriam.
All right.
On a serious note, the DCJ should put an application, a letter of resignation, surrender and get some remaining money for her pension. She can buy houses out of that money.
But she believes she was innocent, so that's why she put.
She's not innocent.
She believes.
No, she's not innocent. The court has not said the information gathered was wrong.
That sounds like
the court has said the way they went about to gather information is what is wrong. So it does not mean.
But isn't that what
but
happens?
The judges look, can a forest, can a monkey cut a forest? Can a monkey cut a forest?
But we even had a special.
The judges cannot cut their own forest. The CJ is the boss of these judges.
And that's why the government brought Qureshi. What is his
name? No,
Qureshi.
But still talk to the same forest.
To find a.
Remember, she talked to the same forest.
The same forest.
Can the forest destroy itself? Then the monkey has nowhere to sleep.
Monkey needs some place to sleep.
Yes. So the judges made a ruling and said enough is enough. They did not dispute the evidence. They did not say, because it is not a matter of going into whether the evidence is right or not, but they disputed the manner in which the evidence was got. They said they never served. So it's okay. Let's serve it again, fresh. They will serve and they come back with the same evidence.
Because I saw the DPP said.
Yes, and the DPP can decide. If I were the DPP, I don't want to go to the appeal. I bring this same evidence too. Now there, the JSC will not say. But if you bring it here, she will go back to court and say it has already been ruled. It was obtained wrongly.
So part of the GS.
we have there is a new format, a new one. Have you ever heard that even women can rape?
Yes.
Okay.
There have been cases like that in court.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Can we close it there?
No, we cannot close it.
You know, women can also rape.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Women
can rape men.
Yes.
But the perception in this world is it is only men who rape.
Who are the predators, yes.
No. There are some women who can rape.
There have been cases in court that have been
anakuona namna hivi anafunga mlango na nguvu. Funga huko, funga huko, funga huko. Hakuna kutoka. Thank you very much, viewers. I'm not insinuating anything, but you can make your conclusions. Maybe there will be somebody coming up in court.
No, there have been cases, women
coming
that have been prosecuted.
Yes, a woman looking at you when you are drawing your dinner, then the plate falls down. That's more or less rape.
Let's not joke with rape.
It's lust.
That could be sexual harassment if at all.
Exactly.
She's touching you.
Not even touching.
Or making advances.
Mom, just I go to the buffet and then you say, this boy, this man, this man is so nice. Isn't that enough?
Oh, okay.
Yes. That's why the law of adultery was put there.
What?
You can commit adultery by merely saying Miriam is beautiful. You have committed adultery.
That is a compliment.
No. If I go further and I say the eyes are deeper than the stars shining in heaven.
Get out of my eyes. Please, you stay over there with the dimples. Let's talk about Nigeria. Let's move.
Aslem Oyebuche. I can, yes, because this is Sunday. Some of the things that happen in Africa, Oyebuche, like the things that are happening in Nigeria. when a man called Jabril, a fake guy, goes to swear himself.
Yes, and do you know what happened?
Yes.
After the inauguration on Wednesday, do you know what happened?
The man ran off.
He did not attend his own dinner.
Yes. Because it's Jabril. There is no Buhari.
Or maybe he's still not feeling very well.
No. This is another imposter. This is a man who was cloned in London. You know he can't attend these guys. Those who know him will ask these questions of the past, of the Biafran war. They will say, when we are in this forest, you remember our platoon. He doesn't want to answer those questions. This is Jabril.
So he's not been taking lessons?
Yes.
Allegedly.
Now, Nigeria is one of the first countries in Africa to have a cloned president. Cloned. This guy ran away from his own dinner. He can't even eat with guests. It is like the men who went to Naroko with helicopters. How they scrambled to come back because they couldn't even go to State Lodge to eat food. They were scrambling to return to hide the money. Yesterday it was a chaos. The air control services in Wilson had a very rough time because helicopter by helicopter. Well done, President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. You made them scramble, they left the food. They couldn't eat food yesterday in Narok.
Has made you happy today?
Yes.
Apart from Liverpool.
I am telling you.
Yes.
The men who went there with the helicopter, they rushed back. This is a true story. Everybody was saying over landing southeast of Ngongo Hill, over. Things were hot. Nobody wanted to go for dinner. Nobody. For that luncheon that the president had called. Because they rushed to carry this money. Some are even forcing relatives. You know? Because right now, even if you give me 100 million, where will I take it?
You can't bank it.
Where? Even now, the house, if you want to buy the house, the owner of the house will be asked, where did you get the money? I saw the house. Who gave it to you? Who bought the house? They will go for that person. Most CIDs now have been sent to the banks. Itakuwa moto. Because banks now digitally, they are supposed to, every day, they must send to the central bank the bankings. You don't know, you don't joke with people who have studied that subject. Called political science. Wanakumaliza. I liked Mutahi Ngunyi. You saw his comment?
Oh, you're beginning to like Mutahi Ngunyi again.
I've never liked him, but yesterday I tended to like him. You know, Mutahi Ngunyi also ashamed me.
You tended to like him. So
no, he ashamed me, Mama.
What did he say yesterday that was
very good?
Okay, let's just keep it on the positive side. Let's forget the annoyance from the past. So what is it that he said yesterday?
President Uhuru Kenyatta said Kenyans should also start broadcasting good things, not only bad stories. Okay. So that's why I'm mixing it with sense of humor.
Is that the good things
yes
about?
Then hit the bad one.
Okay.
Me, I did not like Mutahi Ngunyi until yesterday. You know the NYS one? He embarrassed the profession of schoolers. People who have gone to school, who were embarrassed. You can't say there was 11 million on your account and you didn't know.
Yeah. That did not.
You wanted to know. That's why I was annoyed. I was annoyed.
Yes, I think your annoyance is.
And then you come to the committee and they said, I did not know. Surely. Then nice. You must be a millionaire that God created.
A super millionaire.
Yes.
Maybe a billionaire.
Me even now, even on the 10 shilling to land on my account. Yeah, itajua.
You receive a notification very fast.
Sikutua na notification. Naenda ndani kutoa. Yeah, because when I'm bad off, I don't hide. I go inside and get it. But how can you have 11 million lying on your account?
That is just pillow. That's just change from time.
Pillow bank.
Yes.
Banks.
It's just pillow money.
Bank.
For bread and milk.
Wait, the helicopters came zooming on Wilson Airport yesterday, Mama.
Yes.
They wanted to go reach. If you are driving on that place near the army hospital, what is it called?
Langata.
No, the army hospital.
Moy referral. Is it?
No, this one from up to down. Bagafi way. If you are driving there carelessly or crossing the road, the speed that the cars left you, Wilson Airport to go to various homes. Hey, watu walikuwa wanasukuma pesa.
So the various homes are in those sides.
You see, another man. Yeah, I told you.
Yes.
If I was Wabukara here, I would lay a roadblock in Runda, that roundabout, and lay another one, Langat.
Actually, Obukala is such a disappointment to me personally.
Gosirole is my brother.
But still, he's a disappointment.
My cousin.
Yeah, the same way Divock Origi is my cousin and he scored a goal for you, and I'm not even talking about it.
The what?
Divock Origi. And
Origi is your cousin?
I'm just saying.
Yes.
Obama is my uncle.
No. Please don't spoil this interview. This show.
Let's come back to Nigeria's inauguration.
Please, Origi has done something for Africa. Obama did zero.
Now don't talk about my uncle like that.
Yes, he came here and told us, what is that Luo what? Gonye.
That's the sister.
Gonye. That you people ask for handouts.
Which is wrong. It's a bad culture in Kenya. That is making these politicians want more money so that they can
Obama left us in a bad way.
All right.
Clinton was better. Bush was better. Obama came and left us the way he came. The way 2 terms he went. Not even one single stadium called the Obama Stadium in Kenya.
That was supposed to be made by Jubilee government. 5 stadiums in how many? I mean. We can go through that now. Ruto, say that very clearly. They're responsible for the stadiums.
Ruto. You are talking of who?
And your Pan-African brother.
Ruto.
And your Pan-African brother.
Okay.
So let's just keep it on the wonderful path, and let's just talk about how Buhari missed his banquet on Wednesday.
Now Abdul Salam has opened a war on Somalia with Mira. Boss, to wait until we reach Somalia, you are hitting us too fast.
I think Abdi Samad is really becoming impatient. We are taking too long to get there.
We have left the miracle new notes are very good in Kenya.
I think it's a good move.
It's a good move. Well done, Mr. President. And we have seen, we have just received a breaking news here that has just come saying, your days are numbered. US envoys tell the corrupt. What? Quisha.
Sanctions.
Upon they're sanctions. Coming. Targeted.
Like they've done with South Sudan's president and his.
We are coming.
Oh, we're coming too.
Oh, South Sudan. I told you. Salva Kiir came here. Instead of meeting me, he went to meet some other people. Should have met me. I could help him on this question of.
But he met your Pan-African brother, not some other people.
Yeah, maybe the instructions will be given from the Pan-African brother.
From your Pan-African brother.
Yes, otherwise Salva Kiir has gone on a wrong foot. You can't hire rain bagger. Anyway, let's spare South Sudan, we are coming. So, let's come now, straight away. The Central Bank of Kenya has unveiled new notes. The new notes were unveiled by the governor Njoroge at Madaraka Day. The CBK governor said 1,000 shilling note will be withdrawn from
October 1st.
October 1st, when they will cease to be a legal tender. This thing happened to us in Uganda. When the President Museveni came to power, he cut 30% of the Uganda money. Alikula yote. If you had 300,000, you remain with 30,000.
What?
Yes.
And then you don't go mad?
No, we never went mad. We remained senile. Up to today. Max Rutsitso, thank you very much, brother. You have come back. Zimbabwe is on the line today. Yes, I told you, I warned you. Have you seen? They are here. They have come now. They are coming for you. But don't worry, we know what they are doing, and we shall always stand by you. So there you are. It's a good move. It's a good week. It's a good beginning. At least tomorrow we shall be. I'll still have the spirit of praying.
You've been praying?
Yes.
That's very good. That's very good.
Of late. Don't you see me changed?
You changed.
I've changed.
It's just the coke that we need to work on. Oh. All right.
You have gone there.
The change is good. I'm just encouraging.
Yeah, under the eyes.
Positive vibes.
Yes.
And the dimples. All right.
Thank you very much, Miriam. Let's look at Nigeria.
Yes.
Fake inaugurations. Nigeria this week, we are still on the week that was on Africa Showdown. Nigeria this week saw in a fake president who was thrown in, who did not have dinner with his guests, who did not give a speech, but disappeared in a public and went.
And his deputy gave his speech. And do you know what he said? That Nigeria faces the best years ahead under President Muhammadu Buhari. That is what his deputy said in the inauguration banquet for President's second term, that he did not even appear. He did not attend. So maybe there have been questions of even President Muhammadu Buhari's health. He's not been feeling very well.
Yes,
even
because
after the elections, he went to the
because
UK.
Nigerians have been saying there is something that happened to their president. The man who used to be very cheerful, the general who used to be very cheerful, even his fellow generals, like I met Obasanjo one day and asked him, is this story all right?
The Obasanjo you don't like?
Yeah, but if you have met by accident on a plane, what can you do?
You said
I can't jump out.
You said you'd jump out, so you freaked
I
out.
was going somewhere for my business.
So you could not really jump out.
Then I couldn't jump out.
All right.
So, and he laughed. And I want to thank President Chisano and Professor Tesha for taking seriously my notes on African Union. I had forgotten. Oh, that African Union dossier did damage. The former presidents have taken it as an agenda. They are actually agreeable with my view that African Union is compromised.
And captured.
Captured. So thank you very much.
Yes.
That has happened. But that is what is taking place
in Nigeria.
In Nigeria.
Yes, indeed.
The situation, therefore, in Nigeria brings us to a level where we don't know whether what people are alleging is correct or there is a lie. Buhari himself should stand up and say, the man you say I am not, I am here. But now when it reaches a dinner, which you are giving to your own people, you disappear. More suspicion comes and it comes and it comes.
And it started at the inauguration. He only read his oath. He did not give a speech at all and just left the arena. And then did not show up in his inauguration banquet. So that really could confirm some of these allegations by, we've been reading.
We are told that the vice president of Nigeria is a pastor. I don't know pastor what.
Okay.
Does a pastor allow people to go down in the south to slaughter people?
Which pastor?
The vice president.
Okay.
Has he allowed the people, the people in the photographs we are receiving from the southeast of Nigeria.
It's very worrying.
Don't give us the impression even to talk. We don't want to talk, we are Africans.
But see, he's a vice president.
Or a pastor.
The same way when you see Trump and Pence. Pence hardly, you hardly hear his voice. So when you have such a president that is very dominant, what can you do as his vice president?
Then if it is a pastor, why didn't he pray so that the rats don't come back?
Oh, today I saw another news, and maybe I'll read it tomorrow in the papers. Some person is in Nigeria, is it a governor who has been taken to court because he's saying $1,000 $100,000 were eaten by a snake, something like that. But it's news. I think I'll come with it tomorrow. So yes.
Let me tell you what is happening in Nigeria is exactly what happened during Idi Amin days. In Idi Amin days, there used to be a tortoise. A tortoise arrived in Kampala street. And every Ugandan said, when they started singing, singing about the tortoise, Amin shot so many people.
The tortoise is supposed to do what?
The tortoise was a sign of death under the removal of the government. And they did not take, it took only a few months that the tortoise disappeared.
So tortoise came from where?
And from nowhere.
Tortoise is very...
And we used, yes, there was a very, if you talk about tortoise in anywhere in the classroom, I mean, his people would pick you, slaughter you. Because it was a sign. So if the snakes are swallowing $100,000, how big is this snake?
Anaconda. I don't know. Even anaconda.
Did it also drink water to soften?
When did a snake eat paper? Let's just start from there.
That is the beginning of the regime. God is talking through so many miracles. Because these guys are killing people. They are ordering the slaughter of innocent Southeasterners who are demanding their referendum and good services. You can't leave Europe, then stay in Port Harcourt. You have come for Christmas. You take almost 20 days to arrive your house with your mother to see the Christmas has been eaten, New Year has been eaten, people have returned to work. Is that a country that we want?
That's a country that needs help. Yeah, Abdisamad, only in Africa that snake eats money. So actually that guy was taken to court and is being asked to produce, to give back the money.
You know, it is only in Africa, but the Salam says it's only in Africa that...
Snakes eat money.
Yes.
Actually, yeah.
Let's move on.
To South Africa.
South Africa.
Smooth transition.
A very good one. Ask me.
Yes.
Yeah. Ask me questions.
I think we're both proud of what happened in South Africa, and maybe, I think I've said it here before, maybe some African countries should go there to benchmark and see how is the democracy working and how can it be adopted in these other African countries, that after elections, there's going to be a post-election violence, post-election chaos, results being disputed. So maybe a South African mode of democracy could be adopted in some African countries, instead of going out there and borrowing all these constitutions and trying to fit into something that might not fit completely into our local dynamics. Maybe a South African model could be one that they could consider going there and benchmarking upon.
You know what? When you look at the smooth transition, the scaled down government, South Africa scaled down the government.
From 36 to 28
yes.
ministers, and half of them are women. I'm very proud.
Yeah, we are. But also they spend a lot of time.
I don't
want to go anywhere near there. Remember, I've been to South Africa. Beauty is beauty.
28.
Yes. Half
14.
Yes.
Let's just leave it there.
They work hard.
Yes. Why not?
Yes, okay. You see, the democracy in South Africa is very good. It's proportional representation. That's what most of Africans should do, encourage to do. And now Malema is more or less useless. I don't know. I saw him thanking the new deputy speaker,
yes,
who has been promoted to a full speaker, because my Tanzanian friend, Madam Mbote is the former speaker, had a very rough time with Malema.
Yes. And
now they have
the EFF party.
Yes.
As a whole, yes.
They have now two speakers, a good speaker, a former fighter. The other one was Mrs. Mbete, Professor Mbete's wife. She's very, very good. They used to be in Tanzania those days. Masiku zetu zile
kule
Msasani karibu na hapo.
Haya basi.
Hapo tutaingia huko siku moja.
Haya basi.
Sawa. Thank you very much, viewers. We move on
to South Sudan.
South Sudan.
More sanctions.
more sanctions, no peace yet.
That's according to us, because according to the Foreign Affairs Minister, he said peace is
there.
So they don't understand why the UN even wanted to put this.
According to you, you have sealed
from the
minister. The minister of finance of Kenya said we have sealed all the
loopholes, and audit has been done in all civil service.
I think when we bring in
the joke of
when we bring in Mr. Tawish,
that's a joke of the
when he comes, we would like to hear what Mr. Tawish will tell us.
All the loopholes
have been sealed.
So you said yesterday they were running to get the helicopters back. And
yesterday the helicopters came, almost knocked each other in the sky for coming to hide the money, because they didn't know what the president was going to do next.
That is not Thika Road. How can they knock each other in the sky?
No, in landing you can knock each other.
Stop.
So when you have a minister who says we have sealed all the people were wondering. I watched another program today of a certain television station. One woman has become radical.
Okay. From where?
She doesn't allow the men to speak.
The Laikipia lady.
Is she? No, Laikipia lady is silent. By the way, she has been silent. She's a bit silent. She's going it slow.
Okay. So which one?
Because the dossier they got on her is very big.
So which one did you watch?
And don't force me to say it. So let's see.
We'll leave it there.
No, the lady who was on Inside Politics on KTN, she looks that she's a humanitarian. I wish I were on such a program. I would have silenced her a lot. She is the person describing civil society politics. Negative about everything. It is like a Boniface Mwangi. Even if you give him a new shirt, he will want to ask you, where did you get it? Yet when he is wearing, he doesn't go naked in the plane. When he's going to meet George Soros, he wears. But if you buy it, so that type of politics is what President Uhuru Kenyatta was saying. Please start doing something very positive for this country. Behind all these bad things, there's something good that has come out in this country. We still, Uduma, you see, almost about 35 million people registered. People were demonizing Uduma number. It is a very good thing. It is going to document you. There is nowhere you can steal and hide. It will know. They don't need your DNA. They only need your number, whether you are there or not. So people, this country, we must also give the right side. Yes.
Both sides.
South Sudan is a sick child of East Africa. The leaders of South Sudan need to see in the next coming 2-3 months, they need to be very serious about peace. The resolution that has been drafted to create a tribunal is not going to be reversed. I warned these guys a long time ago about that tribunal. All what they did was to go back and put Mr. Reinberger as their man in the US. Reinberger is the same man who collected fake evidence with Ocampo here to fix Uhuru Kenyatta and Ruto in The Hague. That's Reinberger for you. So it is up to the people, the Parliament of South Sudan, whether to approve that money for Reinberger or give it to a Pan-African man like me. I'm applying for the job.
You're applying for the job?
Not the job.
Yes.
That's a bigger job.
Okay.
Not to fight with journalists. For me, get away and I sit down and I read the news.
All right, so in case you're wondering what Dr. Matanga is talking about, the United Nations Security Council on Thursday voted to extend an arms embargo against South Sudan, and the East African country has been engulfed by fighting since 2013. And of course, the move was slammed by Juba as an obstacle to efforts to bring peace to the war-torn country. You're fighting and you still need more arms. They might end up in wrong hands. I think that was the thinking. The the countries that, and 3 African countries did not vote with to continue the sanctions. So the US really was not very happy about it. Together with Russia and China, joined the 3 African countries did not vote to continue the sanctions on South Sudan.
Thank you very much, Mota Makchwa. I did try to get, but the program was very tight. There was no way we could meet. He was going to see the former president, whom he had not seen for a long time. But we invite any South Sudanese official from the ministry or from the embassy. Pick up, if you don't want to come to this station, pick up your Skype and ask for us to put you on to counter some of the things that we hear about South Sudan. They might not be as bad as they are, but if you are not countering and we're asking you to come, we have no alternative but to tell the same story that we have received and actually found out that there's need for the same.
Yes, and I think Makwach earlier on, he had asked our opinion on President Salva Kiir requesting that his child, one of his sons that was born in Kenya, be given Kenyan citizenship. I would assume that would come automatic if you're born in a country, or you have to apply for it. But I think if he was born in this country, then I think he can apply for that, so that he can have 2 citizenships, Kenyan and South Sudanese. So thank you so much. And we move on to, before we move on, Vincent Okoye, you're saying Nigeria is a fake country. Biafrans must get back to the original nation known as Biafra. And Anselmo Ebuchi Odowele, such a long name, but thank you so much for watching us this afternoon here. And you're saying in South Africa, they use the blood foreigners in the name of xenophobia. Oh, okay. And Sani Obina, you're saying what is happening in Nigeria is 100 times worse than during Idi Amin. And Chijoke CJ, you're saying, Doc, have you seen the interview where they ask Buhari, who is Buhari? Please, Doc, you need to watch it. All right. Can you send us a link or maybe the name of that? I will go look for it on YouTube, and maybe, yes, we'll talk about it tomorrow. And thank you so much. And Makat, you're saying Pole Sana, but I had hoped that he would explain the situation of his country to the viewers. But he was given an opportunity to speak during the 17th annual prayer breakfast here in Kenya, and he said that he expressed his concern with what is happening in South Sudan, and he seemed a bit remorseful from where he stood. I don't know how you could read the body language expert out there. You would probably do a better job at that. But I think he seemed like a person who was longing for peace. But President Uhuru Kenyatta really, I think, made a statement that might have challenged him. He said, peace cannot just come. You must be willing to have that, to want that peace. There has to be a will within you for that peace to happen. So I hope they will work on it.
IGAD has no means to work on the peace of Southern Sudan. What is happening in Southern Sudan is more or less a disaster. It needs United Nations. It needs a special envoy. It needs a force that can be changed from a peacekeeping, because there's no peace to keep. They are keeping war. So you better change that peace mission into a war mission to stop warring parties, then put them on table.
Hold on, you start a war mission.
Yes.
Not a peace mission.
There is no need, because it is not there.
Failing, yes.
There's no peace mission there.
So how would you describe this war mission? How do they go about it?
They shoot on sight those who violate the peace agreement that was signed. Peacekeeper, they are no longer peacekeepers. They must be combat soldiers that have mandate to shoot and eliminate. Because that's the only way South Sudan will have peace. The two leaders have ego. Riek talks about his own way of living. That's what we have.
Yeah. And also I think a lot of South Sudanese agree also there's a lot of ethnicity that actually is could be the root cause of all these problems you see, not just in South Sudan, but across a lot of African nations today. So do we move to Somalia? And you think it's very ungrateful? We have an ungrateful neighbor. Abdi
Yes.
Samad was surprised on that statement. So could you maybe explain to him why you feel like that?
It's an ungrateful neighbor. Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia, Djibouti, and Burundi have sacrificed their lives, their children, and sent these children to pacify Somalia. The government in Somalia, this particular government, has worked very negatively to change the relationship that has been there with the previous governments of Somalia. Mr. Famijo's government tended to be listening to the French mercenary external services to maim the policy, the relationship between Mogadishu and other states. Very soon, it is degenerating into a fiasco that you see Kenya put regulations. If a plane is leaving Mogadishu, because of the security arrangements, it is up to Kenya to see what type of security arrangements they put there. It has first to land in another place.
Is it Wajir or Mandela?
Yes, one of the airports. There's an airport there. Land there first. And that is, Somalia can easily also, if it has a capability, tell other planes to land. Because the planes that land in Mogadishu land at a high risk, a very high risk of terrorists who could actually harm the plane and the people. What Kenya has just done is a measure. You see, a measure to cap down the likelihood of people coming straight into our city, into the city of Nairobi while you are sleeping, then you see something has happened. These are security measures that might not be permanent.
Of course, they're temporary.
Yes.
Yes. And of course, the two neighbors are butting heads over the ownership of about 1,000 square kilometers of waters in Indian Ocean, whose case is being adjudicated by the International Court of Justice. Now, according to minutes of a meeting on April 3rd with Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Monica Juma, Somalia's Foreign Affairs Minister Ahmed Isse Awad expressed commitment to revisit the actions of Spectrum Geo that on February 7th organized a London conference. So this is the company that organized the conference in London on February 7th, in which Somalia launched the first international bid round to sell offshore blocks, a decision that angered Kenya. So this Spectrum Geo is the company that apparently launched that auction in London, and Somalia is acting as if they did not know this was happening. But Kenya specifically wanted Somalia to ask Spectrum Geo, a Norwegian company, our friend from Norway, I don't know if he's here today, to withdraw offensive maps that were presented at the conference. So Kenya wanted Somalia's reconsideration of the listing also of Al-Shabaab militants under the UN Resolution 1267, which imposes asset freeze, travel ban, and arms embargo on individual and entities. So Kenya wanted Somalia to work in them in terms of saying that Al-Shabaab should be treated in a certain way. But the Somali government later declined to support Kenya's push to list Al-Shabaab under UN Resolution 1267 out of fear that this could be used against Somalia's informal financial institutions such as money transfer companies or Hawal. So it's murky. Now it's not even about It's not even about the maritime, boundary dispute. Kenya also had other considerations that wanted Somalia to make, and especially in the war against terror, and Somalia was not seeming as though it is cooperating. Why do you think this could be the reason why?
You know what?
Yes.
All this is coming because people don't see the problem. The problem of Somalia currently is the French. You remember, as soon as the French left South Sudan, they announced they have closed because prospects of finding oil and establishing themselves in South Sudan had become very minimal. They came to Kenya, they wanted to bid to buy the blocks from Talwa Oil. I don't know how far the Kenyan situation has gone, whether they have moved, whether they have acquired Ngamia 1 or Ngamia 2 or Ngamia 8, I don't know. Now, the situation is, if that block was not available, any expert of international relations, anyone who has read international relations like me and you and anyone who enjoys analyzing issues, the Somali government has been working with the Kenyan counterparts very well. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Somalia, the Prime Minister, the President, they have been very great friends of President Uhuru Kenyatta. But of late, as soon as the French entered the territory, Somalia told United Arab Emirates to get out. Somalia started arresting UN diplomats, telling them to get out. From UN, those perceived to be either British or American interests. But they did not touch French diplomats who were stationed in Somalia. Now, the push, if you go to the court, the International Criminal Court of Justice, International Court of Justice, the ruling there
for staying with us. This is Africa Showdown on the 2nd of June 2019. Of course, we had our first hour of the show and we experienced a bit of a technical hitch, so we started a new link. So in case you're wondering what happened to the other broadcast, we're back here and we're continuing. And of course, in the first hour of the show, I was here with Dr. Matsanga and we looked at the week that was, the very now famous prayer breakfast. And this our prayer breakfast, the testimonies and the confessions that perhaps Kenyans were waiting and failed to get, and left many disappointed, and things that were said that a fraction of this country felt was not very appropriate for the moment. And also we looked at the latest in regards to the DCJ court ruling, and as well as the Madaraka celebrations yesterday, and the shocker that was when President Uhuru Kenyatta announced there will be new notes, and of course starting October 1st. So that is just what we looked at in a nutshell in the first hour of the show. And we also looked at Nigeria and the fake inaugurations. Of course, President Buhari was inaugurated for his second term on Wednesday, and very things that were not very normal happened. He did not give a speech on his inauguration. took the oath of office, and that was it. And he was expected to attend his banquet. He did not show up. So also that has left many Nigerians wondering what's really happening with President Buhari. We looked at also the smooth transition after the elections in South Africa, and the country was back to normal just hours after elections. Nothing really happened. And could that form of democracy and that form of electoral process, will that solve a lot of these problems in African when it comes to elections? So we also looked at that, and as well as South Sudan and the sanctions that last week, of course, the United Security Council voted to extend an arms embargo on South Sudan. And we were looking at Somalia just before we took a break, and now I'm joined by Mr. Samuel Tawish. Thank you so much for joining us today.
A pleasure, Miriam.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's good to have you. So just before we continue, I think before we took the break, we were just looking at Somalia, and then we took a break. So let's just conclude that before we continue. This row between Kenya and Somalia, I mean, what do you think? What do you make of the whole thing?
Well, I think Kenya has been outright in as far as supporting Somalia is concerned. We as a region and as a neighbor to Somalia have been so much into ensuring that we restore peace and stability and security for that matter in Somalia, because the stability and security in Somalia means stability for Kenya and the rest of the East African region, if not the entire African continent. So I will say because of these recent squabbles that we have seen, it is something that can be handled from a diplomatic point of view, than just going out full blown. It's something that the two countries can sit hard with Somalia over time. So it is important for us to sit down and find a solution to this problem. Just being combative, just being ignoring whatever kind of calls or whatever kind of issues that are being raised by either parties is not really good at this particular moment.
But also, let's not forget that from the get-go in 2011, when Kenya was forced to invade Somalia, because we were being attacked, so our forces had to go there and make sure that our borders are protected, and that led to Kenya going into Somalia. So we did not just wake up one morning and decide, okay, now we are going to invade Somalia. We were being attacked, and so our forces felt it was important for them to make sure that our borders are protected. And of course, the impact has been very detrimental, and the results have been very detrimental to the Republic of Kenya. But from the get-go, when Kenya went there in 2011, the Somalia government was not very happy with the Kenyans entering Somalia. And of course, there's this consideration that Kenya wanted the Somali government to make, and that was to declare Al-Shabaab under the United Nations Resolution 1267, which imposes and freezes assets, travel ban, and arms embargo, and individuals and entities associated with Al-Qaeda, because we all know that Al-Shabaab is affiliated with Al-Qaeda.
Yeah.
But Somalia government refused. What message could they be sending to us Kenyans, or to the government of Kenya?
Miriam, I think it's worth appreciating that Kenya going to Somalia was not necessarily to try and maybe grab Somalia to be part of Somalia to be part of Kenya.
Yes.
It was well informed by the view that we needed to restore security and stability in Somalia, because like I said earlier, this peace and stability in Somalia means the same thing for the neighboring countries and the rest of the region. So that was the motivating factor for Kenya to get into Somalia. And I think the basic logic was that we needed to restore that stability and peace in Somalia, so that after we are done with all these tasks, then Kenya can eventually withdraw the troops from Somalia. I do not really think that probably because we have not announced when we are withdrawing the troops from Somalia, it means we are going to be there forever. That should not be the point. But generally, I think there are also some outside elements which are just trying to use this, for example, the border row that we're having with Somalia now, to instill more fear to the people and more so the government of Somalia, because now you're seeing the kind of that relationship is somehow deteriorating in the recent past. So it is important for us and for Somalia to acknowledge that Kenya is not there really to take over Somalia and make it part of Kenya, but the intention is to make sure that we have that peace and stability in Somalia and eventually allow Somalia to continually operate as it should. it should not be lost to us, Miriam, and to the viewer, that Kenya has done a lot for Somalia, and I think this is just an aspect of brotherhood. I mean, a brother who really cares. You've seen even elections, some of the elections for Somalia being held here in Nairobi, being held in Kenya, even electing the president.
Because we have a very big population of Somalis in this country.
And most of the Somalis actually in Kenya today doing business, and most of them are owning property and are living here in Kenya. I haven't seen the Kenyan government or the Kenyan people actually having any hostile kind of reception to this to the Somalis, or to rather people from Somalia who are living in Kenya. That tells you how the cordial relationships is actually deep-rooted between Kenya and Somalia. So away from all these sideshows, away from the recent squabbles that we have seen, it is important for us to see what really unites us more than what is dividing us at the moment.
And that is very wonderful, and I think it will be good to look at it. But as it is now, we are having a problem, and we have to acknowledge that. And when Somalia, of course, the Norwegian company that initiated these auctions in London is called Spectrum Geo. But what I'm wondering is, how can a foreign company come in and initiate an auction of a land belonging to another country? Is that even possible? Or what is was Somalia government even aware that this auction was taking place? Or why are they distancing themselves with this auction?
Sometimes you can get into some engagements, but when it becomes ugly, you can try to find some excuses which are somehow elusive, so that maybe the people will believe that you were not party to whatever kind of deals that were there in the first place. So I think at this point, Somalia does not just want to, swallow that shame and come out publicly and say maybe they were aware about the entire kind of deal.
They must have been aware.
They must have been
Somebody
aware.
going to some other an auction parts of our country, the Kenyan coast or whatever.
So basically, they're just trying to run away from the truth.
And this is a public auction.
They're just trying to cover themselves from this shame. But again, eventually, like you put it, it is impossible for a foreigner to come and, of course, auction such kind of big property in your own country without you having knowledge of. I mean, it's something that is not possible.
It's not possible. So our viewers, please talk to us, and of course, we apologize if you were waiting for us in the other link. We had a little technical hitch, so we had to start another Facebook link or other social media links, because we thought these were subjects that we felt we have to talk about and exhaust today. We might not completely exhaust, but hey, we thought it would be necessary for us to just continue with the conversation. So, of course, Abdi Samad, you're saying it was not an auction, it was a result of CT scan and not part of the disputed land area. All right, thank you. Emeka Ehirim, you're saying Nigeria is a fair state, Biafra must stand. So, I know we were talking about Nigeria before you came here. We were discussing it with Dr. Matanga. And of course, President Buhari, the Nigerians went to election on the 23rd, and if you recall, there were a lot of things that happened prior to the elections that happened on February 23rd. And so finally, about 3 months later, President Buhari gets to be inaugurated for his second term. But something interesting happened during the inauguration. The guy did not give a speech. He just he took his oath of office, left the stadium, and he did not attend his banquet, inauguration banquet. And there have been claims with sections of Nigeria that this really is not the president. I don't know what you make of that in light of that new development.
Well, I think let me just call him President Buhari. It did come to him as well as a surprise that he still could make it again to be re-elected as president of Nigeria.
You think that could be the reason why?
Somehow, because again, he's not really taking it so serious. He's not taking it so serious that after all he has done for the people of Nigeria, I mean, there's of course nothing he's done for the people of Nigeria. We're still seeing the insecurity, the Boko Haram. I mean, there's that call by Biafrans for that referendum, which has never been granted. There's atrocities and killings being committed on the people, or rather meted on the people of Biafra mostly. But you see, President Buhari has never really taken it upon himself to try and address all these issues. So to him, he's really been surprised that again he's gotten into power yet again for the second term, and mostly I presume maybe it was not through the ballot, because this is like a coronation. It's something that maybe it doesn't really reflect the will of the people of Nigeria. I mean, the larger population of the people of Nigeria. Simply because he's in power, he has used the same power to continue retaining power, which is very, very unfortunate, and more so at a time when he's not willing to address the concerns raised by the majority of the people, especially from the Biafra land.
All right, before you continue, I just want to respond to one of our viewers here. Farah Jibril, you're saying Kenya is landlocked, the sea belongs to Somalia. Well, Farah, for your information, I think the land that is under dispute right now is 100 square kilometers of waters. So Kenya has a big chunk of ocean, actually. So we are not really landlocked. So even as we continue this conversation, please let's just get our facts right. So we move slowly to Uganda, and there has been a lot of this new developments in the Ugandan political scene, and we've seen sort of in the latest in the recent times, the opposition seems to be I don't know. Do you think they're serious enough to take out President Museveni in the next elections? Can they even do it? Is it even possible?
One, it's a matter of time. We are yet to see that, because again, there are times that we saw most opposition leaders in Uganda coming together in a bid to oust President Yoweri Museveni from power. That did not materialize, because again, all these individuals really are selfish. I should refer them that way, because they have never really sacrifice their own ambition for the sake of the movement. They call a movement to liberate Uganda, as they usually frame it, because there's a feeling, according to them, that maybe President Yoweri Museveni is not taking the country to the right direction, and they feel like they really need to get this power so that they can lead the people of Uganda. But you see, after they came together, you remember the likes of Mama Mbabazi, the likes of Kizza Besigye, and others who came together, a conglomeration of all the opposition parties in a bid to oust President. They still could not actually agree and front one candidate. That made it very easy for President Yoweri Museveni to floor them in that particular election. I mean, in the coming election, again, we are likely going to see the same thing. As at now, because of these, pockets of violence and protests that we are seeing, spearheaded by a section of opposition leaders, especially the MP is famously known Bobby Wine, and now, of course, is getting the backing of Dr. Kizza Besigye. You know, when we get into elections, seriously,
getting the backing of Dr. Kizza Besigye, we have to be very careful when we put that, because they agreed to come and work together.
Yeah.
But I don't know who is backing who. They have not made that very clear, so we have to really...
You see, it is like, they according to them, is like they are finding themselves in a common place.
Yes.
I mean,
let's share the common thing.
The common thing in terms of the kind of the harassment, the treatment, and all those kinds of things from the government of the day. And so they feel like because of this commonality, they have to come together and try to fight President Yoweri Museveni. But I'm telling you this, and you can take it to the bank. Come the election, or when we near to the election, these people are not going to unite. You will see Kizza Besigye actually go to the ballot as an individual candidate, same maybe for Bobby Wine and others. But the most important thing we need to watch out as a region, or for Ugandans specifically, is if there's an outside hand, if there's an outside element that is trying to poke their nose into the politics of Uganda, that will be very dangerous, because again, they can use such kind of violence, the kind of demonstrations that we are seeing that are now being championed by Bobby Wine and others, to try and destabilize that particular country. I mean, Uganda has enjoyed relative peace, especially after the taking over of President Yoweri Museveni. But you see, there are people who could be interested in one way or another to take over Uganda, or to have control of Uganda, not literally taking away, but control of Uganda through politics or through the leadership, so that they can maybe do their business in Uganda, and they're finding it maybe difficult to do when President Museveni is there. So they can actually spend every coin, they can oil all these demonstrations just in a bid to ensure that President Museveni is actually toppled in the coming election. But again,
yes,
you know, President Museveni has entrenched what I refer as an ideology to the people of Uganda. The population in Uganda today, most of those who are maybe say 25 to 35 or even to 40 have only but known Museveni as their president. And so it is not very easy for them to change that. Every other time, you remember when you used to have Moyo in Kenya. When I was growing up,
yes,
I used to refer, who would you want to become in future? I used to refer myself as I want to become a Moyo, not necessarily president. I used to refer to him, this like a career, this is like a most powerful position. I didn't know that Moyo was president, but I used to know Moyo as a most powerful and influential person. So that ideology is the same that we are witnessing in Uganda
But
today.
also, you just mentioned a very interesting age demographic there, persons between 25 and a certain year.
Yeah.
But these are the same people who seems to be yearning for this change. So as much as they've known President Yoweri Museveni to be their president since they were born, they found him in this country 33 years later plus, he's still the president of Uganda. Even me at some point, I was like, oh no, Moyo, maybe we need change. And I voted. against him, I think. So it is the same thing that is happening with the younger generation. And that's why a message from a person like Bobby Wine seems to be resounding with the younger generation. But also something that you mentioned very interesting about the influence from the outside. Well, that could be true. And that there has been an element of that in the elections. Don't you think that actually there could be some genuine yearning of change in Uganda from the Ugandans themselves without the outside influence?
Well, I do not want to, overlook the fact that maybe there could be that yearn for change. Is there a
possibility for that?
There could be a possibility for yearn of change, simply because maybe some people feel like maybe President Yoweri Museveni has outstayed in power. He's been there for far too long. Maybe it's time he has to hand over the baton to another leader. But again, this has to be translated to the ballot. I mean, we want to see people come out and actually speak through the ballot and say, this is what we want. But you see, carrying out demonstrations on the streets, causing violence and anarchy in the country, causing disaffection against the head of state who has been validly and legitimate in office is uncalled for. Is something that we cannot actually clap our hands on. You get the point. So the most important thing, much as they are carrying out this crusade, that they want change, they are yearning for change, that they want a new person or a fresh blood in this office. I mean, in the entire governance structure, we want to see it translated in the ballot. I think that will be the biggest voice that anyone will respect.
There have been, of course, questions of there's supposed to be some changes in terms of governance. It has not seen the day of light. Constitutional changes are expected. It has not seen the day of light. So, because of course it's working the way the system is in Uganda right now, the status quo. It's working for the status quo, and that's why I think the opposition and these other elements are fighting and wanting a change, especially electoral process, electoral change, and constitutional change and things like that. So that is something that the opposition, and that's why they get agitated. They feel there's no level playing field as things are right now. I don't know what you would say to that.
You see, now in Africa,
when we insist on going to the ballot, they already feel the ballot might not even give them what they want. It's sort of compromise. Yes.
We're actually witnessing a common kind of denominator when it comes to what people want, and most of the opposition when we get into an election. You saw what was happening in Zimbabwe ahead of the election last time. They were yearning for this. They call, electoral changes. They want the change in the electoral process. The same thing in Uganda. The same thing happened in DR Congo. We saw it in Gabon. We saw it in Ghana. We've seen it in Kenya ourselves.
Yes.
So it does tell you that this is something that now has been fashioned as a crusade to try and confuse voters and to try to lure voters onto your side, more so by painting the government of the day in bad faith, so that the people can believe that maybe we are not making it because of the system or because of the process, and not because you people are not voting for us. So that's why you see is the same thing that is happening. Maybe this time around we are also going to see Uganda having what we saw in Kenya, the parallel tallying center. You remember, because it's been borrowed in Ghana. You saw it in Kenya with Raila Odinga.
It happened in Zimbabwe.
And it's likely going to happen in Uganda, especially if we are having an outside hand.
And also now, let's just, now that you mentioned Zimbabwe, let's just move quickly to Zimbabwe and what is happening right now. There have been allegations and there have been some information that there are some groups of Zimbabweans, some parts of leadership that are being trained in some parts of other African countries to come and overthrow President Emmerson Mnangagwa. I don't know if you've heard those rumors.
Well, those rumors are rife out there, that actually there are those attempts. But I think as a continent, we need to be very careful on how we treat our very own. It is important because, again, at this particular moment, you can have individuals, in forms of countries, who may pull together or pull aside in as far as what is happening in Zimbabwe is concerned. You remember the issue of Muammar Gaddafi, when he spoke of the outside hand that was actually hell-bent on destabilizing Libya. You remember about that?
Which was very true.
It has come to pass that because Muammar Gaddafi was championing for a united Africa, he was championing for Africans to stand on their own, to be independent and all those kinds of aspects. And the West looked at it.
And that is the good side of Muammar Gaddafi. But let's not forget that this guy was a terrible dictator, and there's records to show that. But also, well,
much as he was a terrible dictator, but the question is, this dictatorship, where did it lead? Libya. Was Libya not stable? Was Libya a hungry nation? When you look into all these aspects, it's not about killing people. If it's just about is called a benevolent dictator, a person who dictates, yes, but again
it's working.
Is working for a worthy cause. You get the point.
Yes.
So what is happening in Zimbabwe? Let's get to Zimbabwe. What's happening in Zimbabwe today? We've had a lot of turmoil some years back during the reign of the now former president Robert Mugabe. And I mean, you could really see how people were struggling to make ends meet because of the sanctions that were imposed on Zimbabwe. It became very difficult because, again, these sanctions were not individual targeting; they were targeting the entire country. So it became very difficult for Zimbabwe. Now we've seen that smooth transition from President Robert Mugabe to Emmerson Mnangagwa. I mean, it came as a pleasant surprise because people did not expect, after all, that we are going to have that smooth transition where maybe President Robert Mugabe will leave office and Emmerson Mnangagwa comes in, or anybody would have come in without actually shedding of blood. It was called a bloodless coup.
Yes.
I mean, everybody was really surprised. Everybody, I suppose, was shocked to see what happened in Zimbabwe. And there are people or elements who still feel like this should not be the right direction. There are people who feel like Zimbabwe should continually be in turmoil so that they can entrench whatever kind of ideology and the kind of policies and the kind of leadership they want in Zimbabwe. And that is why you see, just a few months after President Emmerson Mnangagwa has been re-elected again, because he's just had a few months into office.
Yes.
I mean, there are these attempts to try and destabilize, to cause anarchy. They're not giving him peace.
Early in the year,
They're not giving him peace actually to sit down and develop those right policies and work for the people who have really voted for him into office. So the most important thing, that it's not just about Africa, but to Zimbabwe in particular, they have to focus in supporting President Emmerson Mnangagwa as at now, because that is the most important thing. If they're going to rally behind all these forces that are against or are after to topple the government of the day, then it's not actually this president who is going to suffer. President Robert Mugabe, for information today, is still living a very comfortable life, much as he's not the president. I mean, he's protected, he's got everything he needs at his disposal. And the same thing will happen with President Emmerson Mnangagwa, even if you decide to topple him or bring him down. I mean, it is the people who will suffer eventually.
Yes.
So we need to guard that.
And as much as we need to guard that, of course, there have been a lot of, you see, like, ZANU-PF is the only country in the world that has been sanctioned by the West. I've never had a party, not a country, but a party being sanctioned. So ZANU-PF is the only parties in the world that has been sanctioned by the EU, and when you look at President Emmerson Mnangagwa, of course, he was part and parcel of Mugabe's regime. For a very long time, he worked in Mugabe's government, and there are things that happened that were under his watch that people feel he was never held accountable. Of course, there's a case now that has been opened in matters that happened in Matembeleland, and that is really is probably going to overshadow even his legacy should he continue and finish the term and maybe get re-elected. So how would you say to the Zimbabweans out there who feel this is the man who worked with the former regime and this is what happened when he was there in the former regime, so how can we trust this person to bring us change today? How can we embrace this person, and is he even a different person now, or is he still the same person like he was when he was serving under former President Robert Mugabe?
I mean, experience is out there for everyone to see. I mean, the kind of leadership that President Emmerson Mnangagwa has exhibited ever since he got into an office is something that we can all actually, I mean, we can audit and see exactly what he has done over the past one or so years he's been in office. So to just say because he was part of the former regime, he cannot be trusted, because there were those fears, there were those worries before, and especially when President Robert Mugabe was ousted from office, when you're having Mnangagwa coming in, people were saying is actually, I mean, a piece of the old cloth. We are going to have a similar or even worse dictator or worse leader than even Robert Mugabe. But alas, what are we seeing today? I mean, Miriam, are we not seeing a kind of a president who is actually determined to change Zimbabwe, a kind of president who is doing that which people really want? I mean, save for a few things, because again,
when you say determined to change Zimbabwe, can you cite some specifics?
Because again, you've seen, I mean, the economy of Zimbabwe drastically went down. Those are some of the.
It's still very down.
It is still very down, but
because of the sanctions.
Because of the sanctions
and other factors that probably Mr. Mnangagwa cannot do much about right now. But yeah, you're saying he's doing.
There's the question of cost of living and all those kinds of things. But you see, the most important thing is, we have not even given President Emerson Mnangagwa time to focus and deliver for the people of Zimbabwe. Ever since he got into this office, we have just been poking every other day. You're seeing people, especially the opposition leaders, the likes of Nelson Chamisa, and now with Jonathan Moyo, those who are with Mnangagwa, you remember, in the same ZANU-PF who are together with him during those days. I mean, they are coming out. We have those enemies within the ZANU-PF itself, you remember?
It's infractions right now.
It's infractions as we speak now. So you cannot actually rule out.
And Grace Mugabe still is pulling a lot of strings.
She still has some strings, and she still has maybe some link with the ZANU-PF itself. So
she does.
Until we wipe out these rogue elements within ZANU-PF itself and the government in its entirety, then we will continually have these problems. Leave alone even the opposition leaders or the opposition parties in Zimbabwe. Today, as we speak, I haven't even heard of Chamisa of late. He's not coming out as boldly as those some of these people who are with Mnangagwa in the ZANU-PF formally.
Last week he was all over social media, and you mentioned former Minister Jonathan Moyo, and of course in January former Minister Jonathan Moyo declared that Zimbabwe will be plunged into bloodshed if the international community fails to remove President Emerson Mnangagwa's government. Moyo also said that Robert Mugabe never signed his resignation letter, claiming he was forced out at a gunpoint by the military. So apparently Zimbabwe has two presidents. Because what is he saying?
I really don't think so. I really don't think so. Because again, when someone is looking for an excuse, they have to do everything to justify that the kind of excuse they are giving. That's why you see today they have. So what is the what is the importance of, for example, the former president Robert Mugabe having not signed the resignation letter? What is the importance with the leadership that we are having today? How does it translate into them, pushing for Emerson Mnangagwa to calm down? Was it the fault of President Emerson Mnangagwa for Mugabe not to sign the resignation letter? Where does it even come from? So there are certain things that should not actually be entertained as at now. The most important thing is that President Emerson Mnangagwa himself, President Robert Mugabe, who now left office, is out there and enjoying his life. He should be allowed actually to age peacefully instead of bringing all this politics and coming again to haunt the current president.
Well, he's aged, so maybe enjoying his sunset days peacefully, because we are not God, so we don't know how long he will live. But he seems to be doing okay. President Robert Mugabe, he went and is quiet, and he's just continuing with his life as a civilian, I think. And so, so that is that about Zimbabwe. There's another country I would like us to talk about, although it was not part of the countries we are supposed to look at. That is Sudan. And the latest development from Sudan is that the country has closed down the offices of Al Jazeera. And when you look at that, and if you've been following the story very keenly, the military junta leadership had met with Saudi Arabia, had met with the UAE, had met with Egypt. And if you can see the relationship of these three countries, and specifically with Al Jazeera News Network, has not been very good. In fact, last year, Saudi Arabia, in the tiff they had between them, some Arab world countries, and Qatar, one of their demands was for Qatar to close down Al Jazeera. So now, having all that in mind, and now these leaders visited Saudi Arabia and UAE last weekend together with Egypt, and now Sudan's military council has closed down the offices of Al Jazeera in the country. What do you make of that?
Well, one, this is uncalled for because as a journalist in this profession, we always have to actually advocate for a free media that is devoid of intimidation, coercion, or even, the killings, because at some point you have seen even some journalists actually lose their lives in line of duty. This is very, very unfortunate. Journalists should be treated just as agents of information or agents of communication, and not as what we are seeing in the entire world today. People treat journalists as maybe a clique or a group of people or an institution that is actually working against maybe the regime of the day, which is very, very unfortunate. That is not to say that if there are journalists who maybe from their individual perspective are also not doing their work in the right way, that they should not be reprimanded. But I think general or a blanket condemnation of the entire journalist or Al Jazeera as a news agency in Sudan is something that we should not actually encourage. It's something that has to be, we have to discourage it completely. So I'm yet to actually acquaint myself with the reasons why they closed down Al Jazeera. But that said and done, the most important thing is parties can sit down.
Because Al Jazeera was the one that was covering extensive what was happening in Sudan, because I've been really very keen on following even today. If you want the real news that is happening in Sudan, go to Al Jazeera. And I think it was exposing too much than the military council was comfortable with. But also just my opinion and my whatever. After the visit, from what we see, those three countries, they do not like Al Jazeera at all.
Yeah.
We've seen an Al Jazeera journalist being jailed in Egypt,
Yeah,
still in
sure.
jail, I think, over there. And Saudi Arabia wanted Al Jazeera, if Qatar wanted to be in good terms with the rest of the African, the Arab world, then one of their requests was for them to close down, demands, not even requests, for them to close down Al Jazeera. So because Al Jazeera is one of the most watched news network, especially because it has in different languages, Al Jazeera, Arabic, and so it's far-reaching. And so they're not very happy with this network. And Qatar is very cosmopolitan. It's not too conservative as the rest of the country, like say Saudi Arabia. So they've not been very happy. So after the visits, and now you hear Sudan has closed down Al Jazeera office, then that you wonder. And of course, Abdi Samad, thank you. You're saying Saudi Arabia is accusing Al Jazeera for being responsible for Arab Spring. Yes, that could be one of the reasons why perhaps they're not very comfortable with Al Jazeera news network.
Well, I think the reason why we refer to maybe these journalists or news agencies as maybe agents of this regime change or the uprising that people now refer here. It's not more so like they're being used to fund this uprising. It's just because they continually inform as it should.
So it is the information
I think what countries need to do generally is to look into their own policies and maybe regulations that govern media fraternity in those respective countries. Because again, was there any restrictiveness as far as the coverage of news or the coverage of the happenings in Sudan? I mean, were there any limitations that maybe the Al Jazeera went overboard? It's not there. It's not actually articulated. So the bottom line here is it is just a clique of individuals who feel some sort of discomfort simply because what is happening in Sudan is being highlighted and the world can really see and the people can see. So it's not like they're being used to fund the violence or to fund the agitation for change in Sudan. In any case, by the way, I mean, even the military themselves, the people of Sudan, were really very, very happy with the kind of maybe the change they have had. I mean, the ousting of Omar al-Bashir.
Well, things have changed since then.
Somehow, to some level, because again...
Because the latest now, two protesters were shot yesterday during the protest in Khartoum. So the protesters and the military, the lovely relationship after ousting of President Omar al-Bashir nearly a month ago, it's not very rosy anymore, apparently.
Something also we need to appreciate is that, a transition and change of government is not something that just happens overnight.
Yes.
I mean, it's not something that was predetermined that maybe President Omar al-Bashir was going to, leave office. In that maybe the people of Sudan or the army or those responsible would have made that transition so that immediately he steps down, then we are going to have a civilian president as maybe the protesters were calling for or agitating for. Now we need to give them time to make this arrangement, to make, because again, we've had leaders, representatives from both sides, sitting down and trying to see how they can have this peaceful transition now that President Omar al-Bashir has left office. We cannot just say, okay, who is going to come in and then you come in and take over. There has to be a plan on how they are going to hand over this.
Of course, they agreed on a 3-year transition period, but now they're working on the modalities and how those 3 years they're going to work together, and that is they're not agreeing with. But also the protesters have been in the streets since December last year, and now they wanted the president ousted. It is very clear that the only thing they wanted was the president to leave. Maybe they didn't think Omar will leave, but they didn't seem to have heard a plan after he leaves, and then now what? So do you think that these people have overstayed in the streets of Khartoum?
There can never be a timeline for this, as long as maybe what they want has not been achieved, they are justified to continue being in streets. But again, like what happened in the neighboring country, South Sudan, maybe if I can just give an example briefly. I mean, you remember when these people agitated for a change and they went into a referendum and eventually...
South Sudan were very clear about what they wanted.
What they wanted. They were very clear by word of mouth, but I mean, practically, it became impossible because, again, after going separate and having their own independent country in the name of South Sudan, they have never had peace to date ever since they got that independence.
3 years later.
I mean, they went again and started fighting within or amongst themselves.
Yes.
That tells you clearly that they did not have a clear strategy on how, after gaining their own independence and having their own country, how they were going to move forward. The same thing that has been, and we have been making these passionate appeals and calls for the people of, for example, Ambazonia today. I mean, in Cameroon, we've been appealing to them and reminding them continually that you're asking for this separation, you're asking for this divorce, or rather what they refer as a restoration, because they say they separated long time ago, the 1961 agreement.
Same as Biafra.
1861 agreement.
Same as Biafra.
Same as Biafra.
Yes.
I mean, you can be granted, yes, you're going to have a country of your own, but do you have a clear strategy on how you're going and policies on how you're going to govern thereafter? I mean, those are the challenges that people need to actually to conform with. The challenges that you cannot just wish away. Because again, what is happening in Sudan today, there was that excitement, a clamor to have President Bashir leave office. So he's left office.
I was excited.
I was equally maybe excited to some extent.
I left work early to go home and watch that. No, seriously, I was excited for South Sudan. And now...
You mean South Sudan or Sudan?
2013 in South Sudan.
Oh, South Sudan 2011, yeah, I remember.
When they got their independent in 2010.
2011. 2011.
2011.
Yeah, South Sudan was 2011.
And then a few years later, 2013.
Yeah. I mean, hell broke loose. So that's what I'm telling you, Miriam. We need to have clear strategies and policies and guidelines on how we are going to execute this. The people of Sudan, for example, today, they came to the streets. They demonstrated against their President Omar al-Bashir. They said they want them out of office. They want a change in this particular office, but they were not clear on who they want to come to office. So that is why the military today said, now that you do not want any another military president, you want a civilian president, we need to make then a clear strategy on how we are going to have this transition. So it's not something that is just going to be overnight. Like, we have representatives from this side and representatives from this side, so that we can sit down and see how we are going to have this transition. But also, so now they have given a time frame of, you said, 3 years.
There's a 3 years transition period, but also the protesters and the civil society, they're saying the military transition council, they're being influenced, especially by the UAE, by Egypt, and by Saudi Arabia, because these countries have even given them, have promised about $5 billion US. They've given them, they promised the military, they've given them some amount of that, but the whole promise is $3 billion. And so last week, the protesters came out to say, whatever is happening, we are watching very keenly, especially Egypt. And you know, Egypt, there has been allegations and some claims have been you can see that it has a hand in what is happening today in Libya. So the protesters in Sudan are very aware of that fact, and they're saying, whatever you do, just stay away from our politics.
Yeah.
So they're feeling that the military actually is being influenced by the outside powers, especially those countries that I've named. I don't know what you would say to that.
Well, there could be that likelihood that there's that influence, mostly with the regime change in Africa today. I mean, there's always an outside hand, like we have always mentioned. I mean, there are always people who want to see or to plant their own their own agents to be leaders in those particular countries. So that is something that we cannot wish away. But most importantly, where are we today in Sudan? That's the question. We have ousted President Omar al-Bashir.
They're at a stalemate.
Yes, we are. Yes. We have removed him from office. Yes. We are having the military actually temporarily, taking care of the government.
The constitution has been suspended also.
Yeah, it's been suspended.
It was suspended.
Yeah, that's why I'm telling you now.
Bashir left office, it was suspended. So what it is now, especially what the protesters don't want and what the military council wanted, is that for the constitution of Sudan to have an Islamic law in it, to be like a Sharia ruled country, and that is what the protesters don't want. Yeah. And maybe that's why when you see the link with Saudi Arabia and those countries, that is why the protesters are getting jittery, and they're saying, if we don't continue to agitate for this, we might go way, it may set us way back 30 plus years ago, before even Omar al-Bashir came to the office. I think that is their worry today.
But again, you see, we should be very careful not to complicate matters. At this particular point, they want the transition. They want to have a new president in place, a new government. They want, under the new constitution. Yes. They want, a civilian president. You know, they do not just want a new president.
No, they want a civilian president.
They want a civilian president.
They've made that very clear.
So these are things that have to move
and
systematically. automatically.
Even AU made it very clear and gave them, I think, 2 months to work on the modalities. Otherwise, it will be struck out of the AU, because AU cannot be a member when you're led by the military. So that is a quagmire that Sudan finds himself today.
Yeah, but again, the military have not actually rejected that appeal by the protesters or the larger majority in Sudan. I mean, they have agreed to that request. They're saying, well, we need to prepare for this transition. So it is just important for them to allow time so that they can have this smooth transition, other than just calling it to be like an overnight thing. Like, we should have this transition, we should have a civilian president as early as tomorrow. They have given this time frame. So what is the problem? The problem is that is 3 years too long for them actually to wait and have that transition or have a civilian president?
Do you think that 3 years is too long?
It is not when it comes to... this is not just...
that power is too sweet and decide, you know what, we might stay here a bit longer.
Well, you see, this is not just a decision within your household, within your room,
but 3 years,
within your bedroom.
It's too long.
It's a decision about a country.
Yes.
And a big country for that matter.
Yes.
It's not something that you just wake up overnight and say, this is what we want. I mean, 3 years for me, I don't really see it as a big thing.
You don't think the army will get very comfortable with power?
Well, they may get comfortable,
and decide, you know
yes.
what, this is working for us. So
but you see, there are agreements, there are treaties that have been signed between the leaders of the protesters and the military. Those agreements have to be respected. That is the most important thing. If they go against it, then there will be another revolution. Yes.
There'll be another revolution.
Yes.
Just like what happened in Algeria. You know, Algeria right now, they're supposed to go to the elections on the 4th of July. No candidate has given the name for that. The protesters are still protesting in the streets, because Abdulaziz Bouteflika was ousted before President Bashir, and I think 2 weeks before that, and they're still demanding. So the protest, I don't know.
And by then, Miriam,
energy. I thought maybe the holy month of Ramadan would have slowed them down, but they seems to be very energized.
It has come with a different spirit altogether.
Or maybe it's just the cause of what they want that is driving them. I don't understand.
Yeah. By the way, the people of Sudan today have gone down in history as you remember how they were referring themselves that they are the only country or people who have removed 2 presidents within 2 days. Within 24 hours or so, you remember? After Omar al-Bashir left, there was another military guy who was sworn in, and he barely stayed in office for, I think, 24 hours or so.
I think,
and he had to leave again. So, I mean, the people of Sudan are kind of people who are really determined to get what they want at whatever cost. So if you're not going to give them what they want, I'm telling you, these guys will continue being in streets. They will protest until they get what they want. It does not matter. It does not matter how many boots, how many guns are going to go to the ground. Yes. I mean, they will stand their ground until they get what they want.
I don't know what you make of this. There has been allegations that there have been some foreign influence that is actually funding these protests in the streets of Khartoum. They get food in the streets. When iftar, I think when they're breaking the fast in the evening, they're served with food in the streets. You wonder, they've not been going to work for now what? Since December. So there have been allegations that there are actually funders in the outside world, especially the West. And George Clooney, you know him, a very famous actor from Hollywood. His NGO is very active in Sudan and has been mentioned as one of those funding these protesters and regime change. I don't know what you would make of that.
One, I'm not that kind of a person who will criticize anyone or a volunteer who will come and give food to the hungry. So I think it is it's a good move. There could be volunteers either from Sudan itself or from the outside countries or people of just goodwill who feel like these people at least need water and food to eat as they continue to agitate for what they believe is rightfully theirs. So, but that is not to say that we also can overlook the fact that there could be this hidden hand, people who really want to see that this mission succeeds, that President Omar al-Bashir, now that he has been ousted, the entire regime or the entire system, including this military, actually goes down so that they can have a civilian president. It may be for the good of the people of Sudan or even for the interest of these outside elements.
All right. So let's just end with Kenya here. We have new money now come October 1st. And this has been from the Standard here. What the Standard says, Uhuru strikes the heart of illicit financial flows. So will this curb the runaway corruption that we have in this country that is about to bring this country on its knees? Is this the solution?
Well, it may not be 100%. Strategy to wipe out corruption completely in the country, but I think it's a step in the right direction. Is one of those moves that I believe is going to help this country get rid of corruption. Because again, CBK and through its researchers, through the financial experts, have noted that there's a lot of money outside there, especially in forms of those 1,000 notes that are actually being hoarded in people's houses, or people have just created their own bankers in their own houses. Not really fake, genuine money, yes. But you see how it was gotten is also something questionable. That is the bottom line. It's not about that they're having fake money. They're having genuine money, yes.
But and then there have been
money which is maybe
money laundering also has been on the rise now.
Yeah, so that is the challenge that this country has been going through. So it's a very big challenge for the people who have been having this money, because again, you need to either spend it between now and 1st of October, or you have to go to the bank and change it either in foreign or the new denominations that we have been given.
And then you'll have to explain.
You have to explain. You know, it's a very long procedure.
Yes.
Because for you today to bank 1 million or withdraw that 1 million,
you have to explain.
You have to explain. You have to bring a lot of supportive documents.
The MPs were fighting that. They did not want that part. They wanted to change that part of the law.
You see now, they usually say the sheep has left. The sheep rather has left the dog. So what can you do? I mean, it's been gazetted. The government has already made it clear its position on this. It's something that now is being implemented. Of course, the new notes are now in circulation. And you are aware that by 1st of October, there are 1,000 notes that we have in the old currency will not be actually legally used. So that is another challenge for the people who are having this money.
Yes.
So if the MPs actually clamoring to have maybe to challenge this decision, it's something that has been overtaken by time. Because I think President Kenyatta
they were trying that earlier,
and the people at the CBK did it diligently in a way that maybe this information was not going to leak out. Because had it leaked out, we would have seen litigations in courts, and even the courts would have stopped. You know, with our judges, with our judiciary today, it's very funny. They would have stopped even the printing of the new notes, and of course, the disbanding of the old currency. You get the point. So this would have posed a very big challenge. But as it is now, we have no choice but just to follow it as it is.
All right. And finally, I would want us to just talk about, just mention on something before we leave. President Kenyatta's legacy. Is it at stake?
Well...
And if yes, why?
Well, the legacy at some point looked like... there was a challenge, There was a challenge because of the kind of the political rhetoric that we have been seeing in the country. Because you see, when you're having, the people in the same house reading from different scripts, when you're having a president who is focused on delivering
a house that is divided.
A house that is
cannot
divided.
Really stand.
The president is focused on delivering his legacy, ensuring that we have affordable housing, we have, universal health care, that we have enough food on table, that we have wiped out corruption, that we unite the country. And you have also another group within the same house who are focused in the 2022 poll. So you have clearly two groups who are pulling in different direction, who instead supposed to pull in the same direction. They're supposed to read in from the same script. Yes. They're supposed to support the president's initiative. I mean, when these people went to the ballot last year, in 2017, they were campaigning on the same platform. They had this policy, especially party policies, and what they wanted for the people of this country. But today you're seeing, because of the clamor for 2022, because of that appetite for State House and other maybe portfolios, no one is listening to what the president is saying. But the good thing is that happened to this country, one is the handshake. Much as it does not have that...
cost a lot of ruffles,
It has cost a lot of ruffles, yes. Simply because some people are feeling somehow...
sidelined, maybe?
Sidelined, or they feel like, this has rattled their comfortability within the system, and also given the president more impetus in the fight against corruption, and seeing that his legacy is going to be entrenched, they wanted to hold the president hostage, to give the president conditions to achieve all these things. But today you see the president is freely doing all these things and is getting the backing of a majority of those who really matter, especially when it comes to parliament, because this is where legislation is made. This is where budget is being passed. This is where you get almost every other approval when it comes to bills and making of laws. So basically the president is getting this approval and is getting this support simply because of the handshake. Were it not for the handshake, assuming Raila Odinga, the former prime minister, was not reading from the same script with the president today, and you're having Deputy President William Ruto, who many people will not really want to mention even the name for the fear that maybe William Ruto may not go well with you. President Kenyatta will be having a very difficult task today in trying to entrench his legacy. I'm telling you for a fact. Because assuming Raila Odinga with almost 100 MPs, and you have Deputy President William Ruto with a majority of lawmakers who actually subscribe to his ideology or to his style of politics, it will be difficult for the president to achieve this. But today, the situation is very different, and that is why you see we continually want to remind the people today, and mostly Kenyans, that this handshake between Raila Odinga and President Kenyatta has no tentacles of 2022 politics. It is more of uniting the country. It's more of ensuring that we get off from that bitter rivalry that we have been witnessing in this country, especially after electioneering period, that we come together and live in harmony and focus in building, or rather rebuilding our nation. Because again, this politics of push and pull, the politics of dividing people based on tribe or based on region or based on political parties has not really benefited this country. But today, I mean, people are freely doing their business. There's that tranquility. There's that very good atmosphere for people to work, and I think that is what we should all support, instead of these side shows and the kind of the 2022 politics that we are seeing that is coming so fast.
Too early.
It's too early.
Yes.
You know, 2022 politics will come and go. It is time actually to serve people. When are we going as a country to sit down and concentrate to serve the people who elected us? If we are going to concentrate on doing politics and campaigns year in, year out, even after the election, you can imagine, just after we vote and people are sworn into office, the first thing they begin to talk about is 2022.
The next election.
Just
after they've taken the oath of office.
Yeah, but again, the jury is out there. The Kenyans are watching. These are the people who will go to the ballot and actually rate leaders, and through that they will be giving their approval or disapproval, depending on how you actually provided the services or how you carried yourself, especially those who have been in office.
Do you think that is the yardstick Kenyans
it
use
is.
when
It is and it should be. It is and it should be.
It should be,
Yeah,
but
it should
is
be.
it the yardstick?
It is and it should be.
Okay.
There's a reason why I say so.
It is and it should be. But that
Because again,
that is very debatable,
eventually,
you know.
the problem we have been having is that there are people who have been going around and saying, maybe President Kenyatta is not really fully committed to supporting Deputy President, his deputy, to succeed him come 2022. That is maybe not going to live by his promise of supporting Deputy President William Ruto. It should be remembered that the responsibility to elect these individuals into office solely lies with the voters in Kenya. It's not about the president, it's not about former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, it's not about whether Ruto, Mudavadi, Wetangula or any other outside country is going to support you. The most important thing, and what they should be asking themselves, is what are we doing for the people? Because those are the people who are going to give the mandate. Those are the people who will be going to the ballot to elect them into office. So instead of focusing their minds in dehumanizing the president and calling him names and trying to derail his transformational agenda, they should instead support. In any case, they'll be riding in these developments. They'll be riding into these achievements in getting the votes come 2022.
All right, a very, very good close there, Mr. Samuel Tawisha. Thank you so much for joining the show today.
Karibu.
This has been the Africa Showdown. We had another link earlier and another hour and a half earlier with Dr. Matsanga, but there was a problem with that link and we started, and I've been here with Samuel Tawisha. So we want to thank you so much, our viewer out there. We want to thank you for your contribution. Elvis, Nyo, and so Nyong, you're saying, please talk a little about genocide in Amazonia. I think we did earlier. If you could replay the show, it's there on our Facebook and other social media platforms. I think you'll get that. But also tomorrow you can join us here for another edition of Good Morning Africa, where we will be bringing you the latest from Amazonia, Biafra land, and other news making headlines across Africa. But for now, my name is Miriam Ogutu, and I want to thank you so much, our viewer, for joining us. Until tomorrow, it is bye-bye from us.